growing up like with anime like really made me like feel like that girl power with like so much like magical girl animes growing up.
Heck yeah.
It kind of like, gives you a little bit of like illusion. Oh, this is what like, growing up as a high schooler will be like. It'll be so cool. You'll turn into a magical girl. And in a way with cosplay, like that is true.
Cutiespectives is presented free of mid-roll ads thanks to the support of viewers like you. Hello everyone, welcome back to Cutiespectives, sharing the perspectives of people all throughout the LGBT spectrum. I'm Jasmine Page, and today I'm welcoming another very special guest to the show, cosplayer and makeup artist Nasu Atelier. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. It's
Yeah,
a
it's a
pleasure to
pleasure.
meet you.
Same, likewise.
Alright, so why don't we start off with introducing yourself? Why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hello. I am Jennie. I run the page and the business Nasu Atelier. I'm a professional makeup artist and a cosplayer. Right now, I mainly do like makeup transformations and makeup lessons, and I focus in helping a lot of queer people, genderqueer, cross-dressers, cross-players, trans folks in learning how to do like gender-affirming makeup and transformations for them. And as of cosplay, I don't do it as much anymore, but it's still kind of like a little side hobby for me, so I dabble into that.
Perfect, yeah. What are you cosplaying today?
I'm just a casual version of Ari, specifically her KDA Ari skin from League of Legends, but I'm just
Oh,
casual. So yeah, just a little inspired look.
yeah, I've seen some of your cosplays before. They're fantastic. You build your own cosplays, right?
Yeah, so I am also like a costume maker and prop maker on the side. I used to do a lot of like costume commissions quite a bit for local cosplayers, but I've since kind of just like not really stopped, but like slowed down on that. But I still like make my own cosplays, maybe like one or two a year, just as a hobby. But I focus mainly on doing makeup these days.
Oh, that's so fun though. Well, how about we go on to the next question? In your particular field or fields, what is your experience with the LGBT community?
So I think a lot of it started with so I did work in a very large makeup retail chain that also does like makeup application on clients. So through that, I did like through sales and everything meet a few queer folks, genderqueer folks specifically, and they mentioned that they wanted to learn makeup, but they weren't so comfortable learning it in public because they're not out yet. Or sometimes like I totally get it, like we're doing makeup
Mhm.
in the middle of the store, like everyone
Yeah.
walking by and looking at you. So it got me the idea of if I could do this more as like a house call service or doing it like in my own place, so a bit more private so folks can come up and, feel more comfortable. And what really like encouraged me to do it was there's this server, they're called like cutie schools. So a lot of them are cross players there. And when there was that big convention KasuCon going last
Mm.
year, I actually like flew down and quite a few folks like hired me for doing their makeup, and that really got me started with the community and learning a lot more and meeting a lot more of the folks there.
Oh, that's amazing. I heard Katsu was like a really fun convention.
Yeah, it's enormous, like, and the venue is really nice. It's like all inside hotel, so yeah, it was like a really good experience. And I personally am from Toronto, Canada, so I don't think I have the chance to meet much of my American friends. So flying down there to Kasu, it was kind of meeting a lot of East Coast friends. I know someone came here like all the way from like Europe somewhere, so it was like super cool just to
Oh.
meet all the folks. Yeah.
In this particular field, makeup, cosplay, how do you feel that the LGBT community is represented?
I feel the I would say the backbone of the like beauty industry and costume, theater, everything is the LGBT community. Like the queer folks are there, they are what keeps it running. Like the culture, the actual like aspect of it. Like so many prominent creators online that inspire me are queer folks. Just to name a few, like Nikki Tutorials. She's a huge YouTuber, makeup tutorial person, and she actually came out like publicly came out as trans a few years ago. That was like a big thing because it was such a representation in the community. And just I would say like so much queer artists in general. Lady Gaga, for example, like she is a huge inspiration to me as
She's
just
awesome.
someone who like, yeah, like being creative with looks, being daring out there in your costumes, in how you present yourself. So that's what really inspired me. And as someone who identifies as more like lesbian into femmes, like that type of perspective, I was like, it's a great way for myself to explore and like dabble into my own femininity, what I love about like, being femme, being attracted to femme people. Yeah.
All right, amazing. Yeah, I love your attitude about these aspects in particular. In your opinion, what are your thoughts about the community as a whole? I know you kind of mentioned this briefly in that last segment, but do you have like any direct thoughts on the community as an entire entity?
I would say the community as an entire entity is a extremely like open place. Like I feel for a lot of like not just gender, but fashion, makeup, hair, expression, how you express yourself like visually. In cosplay, you can really get that excuse to explore yourself there because you may pass it off as just dressing up as a character or emulating a similar style. And under the guise of that, you feel more comfortable. You're becoming someone else. Maybe it's a part of yourself that you wanted to explore. Maybe it's a part of yourself that, it's already loud and proud out there. But I feel it's such a safe space. Like, there's really no judgment. Like, you could dress up and transform into anyone for a convention. And, like, people would take pictures of you. You will feel, like, seen and proud of yourself. So I think that is such a great way to kind of just figure out who you are and using that cover in a way. Like it might sound like negative using it as a cover, but like when you're starting out, I would say like Comic-Con is the least like judgmental place. Like
Yeah.
you can be anyone. So that's what I think is so welcoming about it. And like for me, just when I was doing cosplay starting as a high schooler, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just dress up as like a video game character. Like my costume's not that great, but when you go there and you see people who like be like, oh, I don't know, you're so and so from League of Legends, and then it's like, oh, you play this game too, and then you just kind of connect with each other,
Yeah.
and I find that so heartwarming when you like, as you like you, I know you mentioned it in when you were telling me in the intro, but like the fandom, like connecting with fandom, connecting with the people that share the same interest and hobby is amazing.
Yeah, that totally speaks to my heart. Like, my very first time wearing a dress was cosplaying Hidari from Blend S. I know I always tell this story on my channel, but it was a very freeing experience, and it did get me out of my shell. And after that, I just started just getting more and more dresses, and now I got a whole closet full of them.
And like another thing that like folks have reached out to me and said, like, especially when I'm doing like a crossplay transformation on someone, it's like their first time crossplaying, they're nervous, they don't know what like people will think of them, but I'm like, it is Comic-Con. There is like little to no judgment in like who you dress up as because everyone's there because they love that character. They want to, embrace that fandom. Like you see support everywhere. Like there's even like very like macho maids, and it gives an excuse for a guy to like try to wear a dress without
Heck
that
yeah.
judgment. And I was like, heck yeah! I was like, amazing. So yeah, as you said, same thing with like femme presenting people. Like they're like, oh, I don't know how I'll look, crossplaying everything, but their friends tell them, hey, go dress up as a JoJo character, and then they feel that masculinity. I would compare it similar to being a drag king when you're dressed up as a JoJo protagonist. You know what I'm
Heck
saying?
yeah.
So it's like it's amazing. So amazing community overall.
Definitely. In your opinion, because we're talking about like the LGBT community as a whole, but what about on an individual basis?
I would say like for everyone, no matter your sexuality, gender spectrum, you are yourself and you get to kind of determine like how, for example, like gender expression wise, like how feminine, how masculine you want to be as a person. And there's really no rules about, if you're a cis woman or a cis man, you can't dress this way or that way. You can't play with makeup. Yes, you can play with makeup. So I find that like it's super cool how people choose to represent themselves. And like even for university, I went to an arts university, so I got to meet like folks of all over the spectrum, and everyone is just themselves, and it's a really amazing thing to like meet and connect with everyone and to see each person's like lived experience, because you can all be part of like the same community, but everyone coming together as individuals really forms like that like special mix, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say like outside, like everyone, there's no like just one definition. Let's just put it as there's no one definition to, lump like trans folks into one category, lesbians into one category. Like each trans person, each lesbian, each gay person is so different that I think that's what makes it special, or is their lived experience.
I find it like fascinating meeting new queer folk and just finding out about them, like what about them got not only just getting into the community, but like everything surrounding them. Like every individual on the earth, not even in the community, has such different experiences in their lives, and it's just so interesting. This is kind of why I wanted to do this show in the first place, is to like get to know people's stories, have them share it, because like not all of them get the opportunity to share them, and it's kind of devastating sometimes because people are so interesting. Other people are so interesting to me.
Yeah, and like once again, it's the whole thing about like each person's lived experience that makes them like, the unique perspective to this community. And that's why I also appreciate you doing these interviews, because each person, even if they look similar, have similar aesthetics, like they can have such a different experience finding out who they are.
Yeah, it's the nature versus nurture kind of aspect, where the environment that we grow in develops us as an individual. So like living in Toronto, because I'm from America, what is the LGBT community like in the area?
I would say I'm actually like just pretty new to the community here, because as I said, like a lot of stuff happens in like downtown Toronto, like, and I used to live like more in the suburbs, which is like an hour north. And so I didn't get like much experience, but through school, which I did every day, I did like commute to university in downtown Toronto. Like it's very vibrant there. There's a lot going on. It's definitely like I would say at least from what I hear, a little bit less hostile than it is like in America. Because I know in America there's a lot of like politics and whatnot going on, which like everyone is freaking out about right now. I don't want to get into it, but just compare like
Yeah, I don't wanna get into it
Canada is more like safe. I would say like it's a lot of people are like more peaceful and less judgmental from like folks I've experienced with, at least. And it is quite prominent. I would say like Toronto does have a very prominent community here. Yeah, so like I'm still pretty new to it, but it seems very welcoming. And as like an Asian girl who's like an immigrant to Toronto, like I felt like quite accepted by like the Asian queer community here. And I actually like am reaching out to even like various queer groups and stuff, hoping for like collaborations, and they've been like pretty positive about it so far. So yeah.
What made you, I know you kind of like expressed this before in an earlier question, but exactly what made you get into teaching gender affirming makeup lessons?
I would say I'm naturally like someone who really likes to help people, and like yeah, that's kind of why I would say I thrive a bit in the customer service industry. Like I find it a comfort zone there, being able to like assist people. But I think back to it, it's just kind of giving back to the community, being there for people when, like, not saying like there's no one, not really anyone there for them, but just as like as an extra support, as a resource, I think is incredibly important. And kind of, I know even online, like when I try to search like makeup for trans women or just like gender affirming makeup, there's not much results of makeup artists in at least the area like I live, the Greater Toronto area, that are offering these services. And I just thought that, hey, if this is a way that like I can do my part for the community and give back, it's something that I'm willing to do and willing to like take my time to learn more techniques and more skills that I can transfer into these lessons for these folks. And another thing is like I offer like my services as kind of a sliding scale, because I understand like there's a lot that goes on in people's lives, and with transition medication, with transition care, a lot of people are paying outside of their pocket for quite a bit. So I kind of offer it at a price where it's like, here's my range, you can pay like whatever's within it. And I just thought that that's another good way I can support the community by offering at a more like budget friendly price point.
All right, I know you offer these kind of services at like a rate, but if you can synopsize, what is your general makeup routine?
You mean as in like what do I kind of do like on my clients?
Either on yourself or your clients.
Oh, okay. So I would say like for myself first, my general makeup routine is most important thing. I tell everyone, I tell myself, I tell my clients, wash your face and moisturize your face. Like that is the most
Yeah.
important part. If you do not want your makeup to look like patchy or crusty, like make sure you are moisturized. Even if you have oily skin, like put a gel cream on, like make sure that base is like nice and absorbed. And then the next thing I do, it's a lot of folks do it different, but I like to do for myself like eye makeup first. The reason being, like when you do eyeshadow, you maybe like you've experienced it. Sometimes with some colors you get like the fallout, like you're putting it on and then you get like fallout on your cheeks and everything. So I used to do my face first, but from doing like makeup professionally, because at my old workplace, our appointments were like 1 hour, and like we usually have like back to back like 4 appointments a day and stuff. So like the next client comes within the next 15 minutes. So I need to like get my client done at the 60-minute mark, or else my manager like yells at me. So I learned to do eyes first, because if you mess up anything, eyeliner or anything, you can like clean it up right away without cleaning, like wiping off your foundation and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. I like to do eye makeup first, and then I do foundation, and then blush, contour. I like to do lips last personally, just cause usually like with like lip glosses and stuff, like it's gloopy, it's just hair can stick onto it, so that's what I do. Yeah. So I just kind of leave it last. That's kind of a little gist of what I do. For clients, if some clients require like facial hair or like beard shadow coverage, I actually say the first thing I do after like skincare is I do color corrector on the areas that they need like a bit more coverage on. And then I set it with a powder. That's like my number one tip. I'm like, let your color corrector sit there for 5 to 10 minutes. And in the meanwhile, you can do your eye makeup. And that is to prevent, when you do foundation on top, sometimes your color corrector can like move around, right?
Yeah.
Or like it becomes more sheer. So if you do your color corrector first and you powder it to like set on your skin, it will absorb like any excess moisture, any excess oils and everything. So when you put your foundation on, it won't budge as much and it gives more coverage. So that's what I do on my clients first, and then same process as I do on myself, eye makeup and then face makeup, like contour, blush, brows, and then lips. So yeah, that's what I kind of do.
I used to not be as good with makeup starting out. Now I know how to like do blush and highlight and moisturize, and like how you mentioned like with the color correction, and I do that process too, where I use the powder, let it sit for a second, and then do my foundation, but I do my eyes last. Like you're kind of like similar to my fiance. They do their eyes first as well, and I know that's like because they went to beauty school too. That's probably like a technique for you people who know that stuff.
I think that's like something like just for timing reasons, as I mentioned, like if you screw up your eyes and you already did like concealer and everything, you have to redo that. So I guess that's just like what they teach you professionally to do. And I found at least that worked for me quite well for timing and like just like ease of step and stuff. So I guess I stuck with it, and yeah. But I know it's very personal. As I said, like I used to do my face first.
Right. Yeah, and I used to not be as good as makeup. And I know I'm not like anywhere like near your professional level or
No,
anything.
you look amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. But like my first experience when it came to makeup was I walked down to CVS and perused the makeup section. I think I got a really cheap lipstick, some liquid foundation. I didn't have a makeup sponge or anything. And I think I got some mascara and eyeliner, and that was it. And I had this mentality the entire time I was going to the shop, that if anyone asks, this is for my sister. And I went through the self-checkout and everything. But going with that, what products or routines would you recommend beginners who are either still closeted or on a budget?
I would want to say, like, the first thing is for anyone starting out with makeup, you do not need to go into like a Sephora or like any high-end place. Drugstore makeup at it, like I would say, like, I'm not sure like the American where you get your stuff, but like in Canada, like Walmart, like is a great place to start. There are tons of tutorials on just like drugstore price level makeup. That is amazing. Yeah, you really don't need like the expensive things to look like, professional. I would say what you would practice on the most that makes your look a bit more professional is like blending techniques, using like just like the right like color gradients and everything. That's the most important. Color matching is the most important.
Right.
And for closet folks, if you feel like intimidated to go out and like buy makeup, Amazon, you can get like almost anything on Amazon these days.
Yeah.
And you can get it like discreetly shipped and everything, and it's like in a box. So I think that's like a great way to start. And I know a lot of like YouTubers, like in their like descriptions and stuff, they even list product links on Amazon. So if you see something you like or something that someone recommended, you can just, it's a click away. So compared to like, I would say maybe like 10 years ago and stuff, that's when like I would say I started doing makeup maybe 12 years ago, because growing up as like a girl, I just wanted to like explore and like experiment with makeup, right? But like back then you really had to like go into a store physically and get everything. And my mom would be on the side like being like, why are you asking me to spend money on all this? And I'm like, I just want to do makeup. I want to cosplay. So yeah, that is I would say definitely like YouTubers look for like good reviews and everything, and you can probably get a full face of like, I would say like what you need probably it's like, your foundation, eyeshadow, powder. I know like there's some like 3-in-1 like blush, contour, highlight palettes you can get for everything for like around $100 just to like experiment with a full face of makeup. And I think that's a pretty good price range to play with, and makeup lasts you quite a while if you're not using it every day.
So there are many different aspects into seeking gender affirmation, whether it's surgery or hair removal. Like right now, myself, I am receiving electrolysis treatments. What is the importance of makeup when it comes to gender affirmation?
I think for a lot of folks, like, just doing a bit of makeup this is for everyone. I would say like gender affirmation isn't just for trans or non-binary folks. Like, cis people seek gender affirmation procedures, or like, I would say like cis women applying makeup is one of them. Like, you want to feel like your best. You want to feel, your most beautiful, right? So I feel for makeup, it's a good experience to kind of bring out a side of yourself that you want to explore. And like, it's very similar to like, styling your hair or styling your clothes. It's something you can put on to feel like a better version of yourself. And I would say for a lot of clients that have told me, well, in regards to like trans women who have taken my lessons, they're like, this is a side of me that like I couldn't see of myself before. And after this, like I could have a new perspective on my femininity. And as for like some trans men who book my appointment, like what I teach for trans men is, you know how like you fill in your eyebrows, right?
Mhm.
So with an eyebrow pen, you can also like fill in like your beard. You can make your eyebrows a little bit more bushier, like a little bit more like masculine presenting. So that's
Right.
another way for them to, you know, feel a bit more gender affirmed into their appearance. So I would say, yeah, it's just enhancing the parts of yourself that you want yourself to see more and you want the public to see more.
Right. And usually, typically, the first thing that people see in a person is their face. So, like, that is like a
Yeah.
very important aspect, especially for gender affirmation. But, like, I love,
Mhm.
like, the, how you're getting down with the process, like, of how gender affirming can be. Because that was going to be my next question, and you beat me to it. Well, let's go to this next question then. I just want to say like the makeup market and the industry itself is like a huge behemoth, is it not? We
It
got
is
so
huge.
many different brands, so many different chains, stores. How diverse do you feel is the industry when it comes to its creators and employers?
I would say that it is a place that is really trying to be inclusive. Like at the big like makeup retail chain that I work at, like we hire everyone like, you know, sometimes people will be like, oh, like, oh, there's a guy working here. I'm like, yeah, because like we have male makeup artists. It's not just all girls. And we were told to like, you know, we were trained to show every client the same thing. Kind of, you know, no judgment into who's buying makeup, who's here to buy skincare. Like, we all know that everyone's here to like feel their best or buy a gift for someone to make someone else feel their best. So I would say it's quite diverse. And in terms of even folks who work there, like, there's really like no judgment. There's always like in the back, like, kind in the back, we have like posters talking about like, you know, being inclusive to LGBTQ community, to people of all like
Oh,
genders, ethnicities. So that was pretty good. And I love the fact that even on our name tags, like we had the option of putting down like a preferred pronoun. So I think that makes it a very inclusive space for like everyone just, you know, working there and for our clients to like respect people's pronouns and our names and everything. So that was amazing.
that's amazing to hear because coming from like an outsider, I would kind of like sometimes hear stories of the makeup industry being like a male-led industry and it's kind of sexist towards like its clients or whatever. But hearing that, like that kind of like opens up my mind to see that like there are a lot of inclusive things and going on there, and I kind of lost my train of thought.
I also want to add, like, I guess I know it from just from the more like um customer, like general customer facing side of things.
Mhm.
Obviously it might be a bit more different if someone is like working on like editorials or, you know, in fashion shows like that. So I've only had a little bit of experience in that regard, so I can't speak too much, you know, for the editorial side of it.
No, that's great. That's great. Like, I mean, that's good for like a customer's perspective. But let's move
Mhm.
on to what I think you do really good. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but your cosplay pics are pretty amazing. If you guys haven't
Thank
checked them out,
you.
like, go peruse their Instagram for a bit because there's some great stuff there. But what inspired you to start cosplaying and in particular creating your own costumes?
So funny enough, what actually got me to start cosplaying was makeup. So this is like way back in the day. I want to say like 2008, 2009. There were, I want to say like two YouTubers that were like really inspirational to me. Their names are Michelle Fawn and then their sister-in-law Promise Fawn. So they were both like, these makeup artists that did like cosplay looks and stuff. So I think Michelle got really popular for doing like a Sailor Moon tutorial, doing like, you know, the
Oh.
anime eyes with like the white eyeliner. Like back then, everyone was like wowed by it. And
Wow,
then,
yeah.
yeah, Promise does a lot of celebrity transformations. So she will like contour her face in a way to like look like Beyonce, or like I think another one she did that was like really popular was like Miley Cyrus or Demi Lovato. Like the way that like she just transforms her face, because that's cosplay in a way, right? Like you're
Yeah.
becoming someone else. So that really opened my eyes to like how much someone can look different just using makeup. And that like kind of inspired me to, you know, dabble into, you know, buying wigs and trying on makeup. And in terms for making my own costumes, I think it's because a lot of characters that I wanted to cosplay, like I couldn't afford to buy a costume online when I
Yeah.
was like 15 or 16 or something like that. So I was like, you know what? Let me just look up, you know, if there's any like tutorials on how to make an armor, a foam armor, although it wasn't like, you know, the best quality back then when I made it. But yeah, that just kind of got me like interested into the like making aspect of things, and how, and later on just like, you know, doing these characters that no one did because, you know, you had to make the costume. It was like niche
Yeah.
characters that like there wasn't a pre-available costume. So that kind of got me into it, and just I guess also learning new skills, because I went to school for design, and like I'm always trying to like learn new things on like how to make something or how to like design something new. So combining those skills together was super interesting to kind of just like make a custom version of something for yourself that you feel like when you're a con or when you're a picture like, hey, like I have this thing that's a little different that like I made and I'm proud of it. So that was amazing.
No, that's awesome. We all start somewhere. Like you were mentioning about like being your little self and like the foam like armor not turning out the way as expected, but like we all start somewhere. And like that's amazing that you like play cosplay these kind of niche characters, because I like to do the same thing, and sometimes I gotta like piece together stuff because I don't have like the kind of like capabilities of making my own cosplay, so I'm just kind of like thrifting around. I'm like, oh, the character kind of wears something similar to this, so I'm gonna grab
Yeah.
this real quick. What are some I haven't written this down, but I'm just curious. What are some of your favorite cosplays that you've done?
As of recent, I did cosplay like Cheryl Gnome from Macross Frontier.
Oh my god.
I, I have a figure shelf of her over here, like she's my waifu. I have
Oh,
a
no
lot of her.
way!
I am actually gonna grab the chibi figure of the one I cosplayed, just to show you guys. But yeah, there's like
Oh,
this costume, so it's one of the like red cape and stuff that you
right.
probably see on
You've
my
posted
page.
that. You posted like recently,
Yeah,
right?
I cosplayed her at CostaCon last year. I was super proud of her because she's been my like OG waifu for the longest time. And yeah,
Awesome.
this is probably like my favorite costume up to date because
Oh.
I I sewed the entire thing for her. I'm not that like I would say like I'm not that great at wig styling yet, but like for her wig, like I bought a lace front wig and like sewed more wefts onto it and styled it, and I was like super proud of that. So yeah, that's probably my favorite costume. My second favorite one is probably like KDA Ari. I did that like I sewed that maybe back in like 2019, and that was like my first like major sewing project. Like I bought a pattern pack from it from this creator called Kimpasu Cosplays. So she does tutorials and she makes these like sewing patterns. So I bought that, and that was like my major like first sewing project, and I was like super proud of it. So yeah.
So you mentioned to me earlier that you do makeup appointments at conventions. How often do you
Mhm.
attend conventions, and which ones do you tend to frequent most?
I would say like CostaCon, like that's like the big one I did last year. And then over here in Toronto, like during like con season, we have a really big one called like Fan Expo in the summertime. So for that, like I usually have clients book me, and if they're in like my driving distance area, I usually like go to their house. So I do like one or two clients, so not that much, but I recently like have a place in downtown Toronto to live. So that's where like I am doing my little like studio per se, and I'm hoping that when con season comes around, like I can have clients like come up to my place and do that just to make it easier. And it's like a 10-minute subway ride from the convention center, so hopefully that makes it easier. But yeah, it's just with with cons and stuff, I would need to like book a hotel and whatnot for like, as I was saying, like if it's Katsucon, or another one that I do want to do in the future is like Anime NYC or like Anime Expo. Just
Ooh,
like large ones
yeah.
where a lot of like Discord friends are there and they want to book me.
Typically, when I go to conventions, I see a lot of diversity. More so than, say, like going to the store or like the gym or just going out on like a commute or something. Why do you think these sorts of events have such diverse expression?
I think it all just comes back to like fandoms being from creators of variety of different like cultures and backgrounds, because I feel like, let's just take like, I don't know, like Western comics, like Marvel comics, for example, right? You got pretty much like every ethnicity like represented, every culture kind of represented, and people can see something of themselves in the characters there. So I think that's what like really brings it together at like conventions. Same with, I would say, like anime and stuff. Like it is made by mainly by Japanese folks, but they're not afraid to like explore into storylines about like, I'm just gonna bring up like an example like Fate, right? The Fate series. I don't know if you're
Right,
familiar, but they take
I
like
am.
mythologies from all different cultures, kind of
Hmm.
remix it, add in a little bit of anime twist. But it's so cool to see just like characters that you can see yourself in represented, or you are familiar with represented. And I think that's what like really brings everyone together. And I feel the same for cosplay. Like, of course, like you can cosplay as anyone you want, but I think for a lot of people, what makes it attractive is like, I can see myself as this character. I can see myself transforming into this character who I relate to. So that's what kind of like brings everyone together and kind of make a very like diverse and like open, like welcoming group.
Great, yeah. Like I totally agree with that. Um, Conventions to me, like they have such like diversity and so many different individuals, not just for race or gender, it's also body shape and everything. Um,
Hmm.
so what side are you on, like in particular, in this kind of like thought experiment? Um, do you see conventions as somewhat of like a sample size to the overall population? Or do you think the event just gives more liberty for self-expression, like it brings it out into people?
I'm gonna say, like, from what I can see, is the latter part, because as I was saying before, like, it gives you a little bit of an excuse to explore yourself a bit more, right?
Mhm.
So, like, for someone who might normally, like, be a bit more timid in how they dress, in how they express themselves, but they see when it's like, hey, when I'm cosplaying, I can transform into someone else, or when I'm at a Comic Con and I see people who love the same fandom who for example, like I normally don't have anyone to talk to about anime except online, but all of a sudden, like I'm at a convention, there's this panel about this anime I really like, you have all the fans there, you can really like bring a part of yourself out that normally in daily life you might not see, and I find that like really interesting. And it's just also like, I would say, like, I also agree with the first part that it is kind of a sample size, but it's a sample size of when you put a bunch of people who love something together and express like their true genuine interest without feeling, they need to hide it for being quote unquote like nerdy or something, right?
Right. Yeah, everyone's there for like the same thing and everyone's just there to have fun. So I feel like it is like a safe space to be open about yourself and to share the things that you love with others. Like
Mm-hmm.
conventions, like, and even like events similar to conventions. Like I just went on an emo cruise not too long ago,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's there for like the music and everything. And
Yeah.
every events like that are such positive experiences, and like some of the best places to like start stepping out of the closet, so to speak. Because, like I said, the very first time, like, I went out in a dress was at a convention. And it was such a freeing experience. It's a freeing experience every single time.
And I just want to like reiterate on the like, you know, you went on emo cruising, like I felt the same like whenever like I go to a music festival or like a concert, like everyone's there to like nerd out about the bands. Everyone's there
Yeah.
to, you know, see their favorite artists. Like on a similar note, like well, I'm gonna say like in Canada we don't get much like band music festival, but we had one last summer where we got like groups like Fall Out Boy, All American
Oh
Rejects,
my god.
was it Gym Class Heroes, just to name a few, right? So like
Yeah.
I was there like reliving like my high school like emo phase there. And you got like a bunch of other people because like it was a little bit on the pricier side to invite all the bands like up to Canada.
Right.
So most of us were like adults in like our mid-20s to like 40s. And it was just so cool to see like my friends, my like slightly older friends being like, I listened back to them in 2005 when they first debuted. I was like, oh my god. And it's that feeling, right? It's like you're there no matter your age, everything. Like you're just there for something you love.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a cool experience. Like on the cruise itself, like we had Hawthorne Heights, The
Oh my god.
Used. We had so many like bands there, and like it's probably even more expensive than the festival that you went to because it's also a cruise and we're going to the Bahamas and
Yeah.
everything. But like everyone there was like such a diverse age group even in there, and like I even met some like trans people there too. So
Mm.
there was like it just brought out like individuals like who I don't know, you probably don't see in a day to day. Cause like
Yeah.
maybe sometimes people like keep everything at home and stuff. And like for me, like I barely leave the house either. That's kind of because I don't have a car or anything, but um it's just like so interesting to like go to these events and like see these sorts of people and get to meet some people that are even in your community, and it's a small world after all, like to,
Yeah.
to put it bluntly.
I forgot. I think there's a few people doing it, but like I've seen like those little YouTube shorts before where people like go up to cosplayers at conventions and ask like, "What's your daytime job?" And it's like so diverse. And you have
Oh.
like, I don't know, you have like a guy dressed up as Iron Man being like, "No, I'm just an office worker." So seeing like that dynamic to like transform and bring out like the nerdy part of yourself out, like an excuse to be nerdy, I think that's the best part, right?
Yes, exactly. And with that being said, in my perspective, and I feel like a lot of people, like specifically media and culture studies individuals, people who study media and stuff, media itself can have an impact on its viewers and can even change how they perceive themselves, adapting their self-image to align with what media they consume. This doesn't necessarily have to be like shows or animated movies. It can even be with music. Like people adapt how they express themselves with anything that they consume. Would you say that any piece of media or fandom has influenced your self-image or how you choose to express yourself?
I would say growing up like with anime, like really made me like, I don't know, like feel like that girl power with like so much like magical girl animes growing
Heck
up.
yeah.
Like, you know, as a young girl, I'm like, it kind of like, you know, gives you a little bit of like illusion. Oh, this is what like, you know, growing up as a high schooler will be like. It'll be so cool. You'll turn into a magical girl. And in a way with cosplay, like that is true. Um, yeah, I would say like obviously like the classic magical girl stuff, like Sailor Moon, Tokyo Mew Mew, like that was a big
Oh,
influence
Card
into who I
Captor
am.
Sakura.
Yeah, yeah, like the whole Clamp series in general.
Yes.
And then I will also say like one of my favorite animes is Ghost in the Shell, and that has a very
Mm.
strong female lead. And I love
Hmm.
animes with like, you know, a woman that can kick.
Heck yeah.
I love that, and I guess that really shaped myself as, I joke about it, but like a independent woman, a self-made woman.
No, I mean, I've seen you like really rip it at the gym. Like you have that like as part of like your stories and everything. Like I've
Yeah.
seen you work out. I'm like, dang, you go, girl. Like,
Yeah, it's just kind of like I feel that encouragement of like seeing strong women and seeing that like represented. I think that is so important. So I think like that's like a huge part of like what made me myself like someone who's like I can be feminine, I can be strong at the same time, and I can also, be an individual without being judged too much for what I do. So I think yeah, like strong female lead in any media, but specifically like anime, like magical girls, they are powerful.
yes.
They kill monsters, okay? Like that really like shaped me, and I would say how I view like femininity in a way as like such a strong thing. You don't have to be like physically strong, like, but you can be mentally strong, stand up for yourself. I think that's like really important. And same thing, like coming back to another anime that really shaped my, I would say like myself is like Macross Frontier. As I said, like the
Hmm.
character I cosplay, like Cheryl, she is like once again like one of those like self-made women. She's like the biggest pop star in the galaxy in that show.
Yeah.
But she stands up for herself and she doesn't care what no man says. So I was like, you go girl, and
Heck
yeah, that
yeah.
shaped me a lot. Strong women, strong woman doesn't have to be physically strong, but they're independent, they can do what they want, they don't dare to back down. I think that's so important.
I just noticed that you cosplay like a lot of idols in particular. Like I believe KDA is like
Mhm.
the Korean like pop idol
Yeah,
group.
I love idol. I think it's the same thing kind of as the magical girl realm where like you have a bit of fantastical element to it, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why I also like. I also really like music, as we were talking about earlier. I love
Yes.
music. I like idol music, band music. I just love it when a group of people come together to create something. I guess that's why I really like group acts.
One of my favorite animes is Bang Dream, so like I am totally
Mm.
with you there.
Yeah, K-On! Was a big inspiration
Okay,
for
I
me.
love K-On!
Yeah,
Yes.
I actually learned, well, I was like 10 at the time when I think it aired, so I actually begged my mom to like get me like a bass guitar lesson
Oh
and
no way!
stuff.
Oh, you wanted to be
And
Mio?
yeah, I love
Yes.
Neil.
Mio's my
And
favorite.
I even like I don't have like her, this is a bit nerdy, but like I don't have her exact Fender bass because those were super expensive. So as a beginner, I got like the it's like Fender's like budget brand Squire. So I have a left-handed bass that looks like hers from that.
Oh, that's so
That's what I
cute.
played. So I am ambidextrous, mostly right-handed, but because of Mio, I was like, no, I'm gonna learn left-handed.
That
So
rocks.
yeah,
Particularly when it comes to LGBT representation in media, how often do you think it's responsible for individuals finding out their true selves?
I would say like it is quite a prominent thing. I think like anime in particular has a lot of like gender bending. It has a lot of like same-sex love stories, and they're so like in in those medias like it's usually not played on as like a funny thing. It's like for a lot of like boys love or girls love story, it is so touching, it's so genuine. They feel like real life actual like connection to people instead of like, this was made up for just the story, if you know what I'm saying.
Hmm.
So I think that's so important for a lot of folks to kind of explore the emotional side of their sexuality. And as for like, gender bending, like you got shows like Rama and One Half. That one was a cool one
Yeah,
where like, you pour water onto like this guy and then he turns into a girl.
only it was that easy.
Yeah. For a lot of genderqueer folks I talked to, even my partner, they said that like that really opened them up to, exploring like gender possibilities and, wishing that was real. Um, yeah, and even like there's so much like I think there's one where it's like a magical boy show where like when
Magical
he
girl or
transform
Is that one?
No. It's
No, not that one.
earlier one. I forgot the
Oh,
name, but
okay.
the main dude character, when he transforms, he turns into a magical girl and fights with a group of
Oh.
other girls who doesn't know he's actually a guy.
Oh, man, I need to get the name of that one.
That one was super cool. So it's just kind of a lot of, playing around with gender roles and not shaming those characters for it, right? And
Right.
sometimes it's even like a positive things. So I think it's like a lot of people, they see that and they're like, I really wish I was that. And that's kind of like, quote unquote, like cracks their egg or something.
Oh my
I
god,
usually
yeah.
don't like that term too much into like
Yeah.
I don't believe in like a egg cracking. I would believe it's more of like just self-exploration, realizing, hey, this might be something of a possibility, something that I just want to find out,
It's less of an egg and more like a cocoon or a metamorphosis.
Yeah, I would say it's digging deeper. It's allowing you to dig deeper into yourself.
Like, for me, I'm non-binary. I go by they, them, and everything. But I do enjoy presenting feminine, but a lot of people like lump trans and non-binary together, but for me, maybe I'm trans, I don't know. I think I'd need a little more self-exploring, but it feels like I didn't really just become and start transitioning. Even though I am receiving gender-affirming care and everything, it didn't really feel like I'm changing. It's more like I'm becoming more of me than I ever been.
Yeah, exactly. I feel for a lot of folks, like, it is self-discovering more. Like, I tell, like, when I'm just having these discussions, like, in class or with friends, whatever, I'm just like, every queer person's, like, lived experience is different, and what you personally see as I'm transgender or I'm non-binary might be very different from someone else's. So at the end of the day, it is just discovering yourself and kind of looking back like introspectively, right? Like into your own identity and who you are. Like as you said, like you're non-binary, you don't know if you're trans or not. Like it's not up to, other folks to decide, hey, you are trans, no, you are
Right.
not trans, right? It's up to yourself to see this is who I see myself, and that I don't, and even for myself, like I'm a bit like, I would say on the gender queer side, like I just like playing with different like gender expressions and everything. Like yeah, currently I feel more like a cis woman because that's kind of like what I grew up with, and I feel like quote unquote like I'm going back to that, but before like half a year ago I definitely felt like more non-binary. So it's not like a thing where it's like, you are non-binary, you are not non-binary. You could just be like all across the spectrum at any point in your
Yeah.
life. And it's not up to, the person, other people to be like, no, you are not trans anymore because XYZ. No, it's up to yourself to decide. You can be like, I feel like a cis woman right now, okay? Like, that's just
Right.
how I'm feeling. But I don't know, next week, the week after, I'm like, no, I feel more masculine. Like, I guess that's the thing with a lot of like non-binary folks. To go back at it, non-binary folks do not owe anyone like androgynous presenting or any like constant you are this, you are that. Like you can be anywhere. Same with cis folks, same with trans folks. It's up to you yourself to decide where you are in life and how you identify as.
Everyone's journey is different, and
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned this to me through DMs about labels and your opinions on labels. I acknowledge that labels are important for the human brain to like categorize things, but it can lead to toxic thoughts and ideologies sometimes.
Just to go off on that, like as you said, like it can help yourself like organize who you are or organize things in life. But I think the problem comes when, it comes to society and how society views labels, right? Because you feel like I am not this enough, I'm not that enough.
Right.
Because there is your interpretation of society's interpretation of that label, if that makes sense.
Totally,
So,
totally.
Yeah, so I tell a lot of people, I'm like, you know what, it's up to yourself. Like, if you feel like XYZ describes you, cool, like, I will respect that and that's your thing. I feel how this represents me, please respect that. So it's a lot of, mutual understanding, I feel, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And yeah, sometimes like there can be like social stigmas when it comes to like individuals who label these things in their own mind. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, like we as a society and as a collective human consciousness need to understand and respect one another because
Mhm.
everyone else has like their own perspectives and ideologies even within the community itself, and we just need
Mhm.
to go about it like in a kind and understanding way. I
Yeah,
feel like
exactly.
things would get a lot kinder in life if we take the time to really understand one another and ask these kind of like introspective questions to the opposite individual and just come to like a mutual understanding. Maybe you don't necessarily agree with everyone else's opinions, but as long as you understand and respect them, I think we can all just get along eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also just going back to like, discovering yourself and like just even exploring, I feel like for what I do, like my makeup service, like I even do it for some folks who identify as cis, but they just want to, play with gender expression and,
Hmm.
you know, crossplay or just explore part of themselves more, just to see. So I think going back to that, like having a safe space to have someone to like understand that, hey, I want to try this, I want to explore myself in this way, and having someone that can respect that and acknowledge that is so important.
Exactly, yeah. Let's bring it back to, because I know we got a lot off topic. But thank you again for indulging me in that discussion.
No problem.
Bringing it back to fandoms and expression. I often see in certain fandoms people expressing who they are, whether in forums or otherwise Discord. That's where I kind of got my start. Before even, or when they can't even express themselves in real life. In your opinion, do you see fandoms as sometimes being outlets for gender expression?
Definitely. I think a lot of times with like fandoms, as I was saying, how sometimes you see yourself in a character. That is so important. Like
Hmm.
to be like kind of seeing parts of yourself. Like you might not look exactly like this character, or like you just feel, oh, this is who I aspire to be, but I'm not that right now, right?
Yeah.
But being able to even like for example, use that character as your avatar, like just to express yourself that way.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would say like gaming. I would say gaming is so crucial for some folks to explore their gender
Yeah.
identity because like when you play as an avatar, or even like say some games have like preset heroes and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you get to like indulge in that a little bit.
Right.
And you for I don't know, I'm just bringing like a short example, like if you're playing a game of Overwatch or something, right? Um, I don't know, you can just indulge yourself in being diva, messing around.
Mm-hmm.
Just it might seem like, on the surface, oh, I'm just like, silly or typing in chat, like typing in cute, words or stuff, right? But that's a great way to just kind of like role play. I guess it's on a similar spectrum to I personally don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but for folks who do, like, you're creating a character that can be completely different from yourself. And once again, you're coming together like in the fandom space to explore a part of yourself using kind of the safety of that disguise that, oh, this is just gaming, this is just role playing, to really see a version of yourself.
It's funny that you mentioned like messing around as characters online because the very first time I cosplayed, I I got into Blend S when it was airing and everything, and I really loved the character Hidari because he was so funny. He was feminine while still keeping like some of his masculine traits, and I just fell in love with the character. But I've never done any of this stuff before, so like I was just kind of like, what if I do it as a joke? So I took a picture of like the cosplay that I was thinking of buying and sent it to my friend. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I cosplayed this character? And she was just like, she was super supportive. She was just like, do it. And I'm like, all right, but you're responsible for whatever happens after this. So when I got the cosplay, she's the one who took me to my very first anime convention, and that was the first time I cosplayed, and the first time I wore woman's anything. And it was the first time like they did my makeup for me and everything, and I was just so thankful for that moment. Like it was amazing. Like I definitely am on the mindset that fandoms and pieces of media can really open an individual and into finding their true selves. So there's certain individuals who base their entire lives on a certain piece of media, and while some might say that they're not finding their true self, sometimes it can be like that is how they picture themselves in totality. That is them, and their image, their self-image is reflected back into the TV screen or through the music, through anything. And I think it's incredibly important to like keep diversity in media, because the more people that like are born, the more people are trying to find out who they are. And it can be like a segue for that kind of self-expression and finding out who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Like, excuse me, I've completely forgot her name, but I believe there was like she was one of the first like professional gamers. I'm not sure if she was like she played Tetris or something, but this was like back in the 80s. But there was a trans woman professional gamer from back in the day. I learned about this like in gaming theory history class, but she said like when she was playing the game, when she was competing, every opinion about her gender, everything was out. She felt like, I'm a woman playing this game. There's like no judgment. I think that's so important, once again, to like find a safe space for yourself where, you know, under the guise of a fandom, under the guise of media, a game, you can feel comfortable. I think that is the most important, because you yourself feeling confident is the first step to you like feeling and be more introspective about yourself. Because I personally sometimes like I have like a bit of self-doubt issue and stuff, and that's when like I'm not feeling too confident about myself, and I can't figure out, you know, my way of thinking and whatnot. But when, for example, like I love doing makeup, when I have makeup on, I feel confident. And for other folks, they've told me the same thing, like they can be a bit more daring, right? Like because you are feeling comfortable. So yeah, once again, like that's the most important. And as you said, like media, it really opens up this space for people to have that confidence.
Yeah, totally. Like I 100% like follow that mindset. But I have one more question for you. This is like more of an open-ended kind of question. Do you have any words of advice for people like us who are either trying to branch out into the makeup industry or just beginning their cosplay journeys?
Never stop trying. Keep practicing whatever you are doing, because there are times that, you know, you might feel you want to give up, you're just not getting to the goals, or you're just not getting to where you want to be. But I assure you, with, you know, enough time and practice and introspection, you will do it better. You will get there one day. And even for myself, despite, for example, like cosplaying for like 10 years, I would still compare myself to like professional cosplayers, or like I've been doing makeup professionally for like 3 years. I still will compare myself to people who have like decades of experience. But don't feel bad. Like, look at them and look at their journey and try to like understand how they got to where they are and build your pathway that way, because no one starts with any like, you know, pre-built stat points. You build your stat points yourself. It's like, I'm gonna bring back the gaming analogy again, but you gotta level up. You gotta do your quests. You know, you can't just, well, I don't know about real life, but like, let's just say you can't really buy your way. You can't really buy your skills. You can buy things, you can't buy your skills to who you are, or like, you know, into whatever you're learning, right? So you gotta grind. There will be some parts that are difficult. There will be failures. But I assure you, like, I tell myself this too, like, you will get there.
Alright, that about wraps up my questions for you. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. Remind everyone where they can find you.
So you guys can find me on Instagram. It is Nasu Atelier. It will be linked down in the description. Hopefully I might branch into streaming in the future when I try to get a bit more logistics figured out. I might, like, doing makeup transformations on streams will probably be something I'm interested in, or like even maybe bring on like potential guests to like transform or make them cosplay.
Thank you so very much again. Please go check them out in the link in the description. Show them all the love and support. This has been Cutiespectives. I'm Jasmine Page, and I'll see you with another special guest next month. Until then, take care of yourselves and have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share your perspectives down in the comments below and let me know who you'd like to see in a future video. See you next time!